Hi, welcome to another Power Blast podcast. So, do you have any bad habits? Of course you do. We all do. But in this podcast, I'm going to share with you 11 bad habits to try and quit right away. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, Perry Tinsley here, creator of the Power Blast podcast, the power of possibility, passion, and purpose. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode, and let's talk about bad habits. Now, I don't want to make this all about negativity and stuff like that, so I will share some really good habits at the end of the show here, but I know creating a productivity ritual or routine that just helps you maintain a peak level of energy and get the best out of your days. Doesn't that sound awesome? So if you can get rid of some of these habits, because bad habits, they're bad for you, right? They're mentally, physically, emotionally draining, even socially in some cases. And while some habits are harder to quit than others, doesn't mean that you can't get rid of them. Some of them will just take a little bit of work. And just finding out some solutions to do that. One bad habit, stress eating. I mean, I used to be a really serious stress eater. I still have my moments. I think some of us do. But it would be stress eating when I'd be unhappy or disappointed or anxious or even sometimes just bored. And it really had nothing to do with being hungry, and really everything to do with just food, filling those emotional voids. I don't know if you can relate or not, but if that's a habit of yours, you want to think of that. Just some things that I guess, a mini contract that I did with myself was whenever I find that urge where I'm just going to go and grab something mindlessly, I made myself a little contract, and I have to catch myself from time to time. It's just to first chug down 20 ounces of water. Now, if I still feel the need for after that water, well, then I might have something. But as I'm thinking, as I'm chugging the water and about ready to grab whatever mindlessly out of the cabinet, I'm thinking, do I really need this eating opportunity? Is there a better choice that I can make? And a lot of times I'll, if I was going to turn for something, salty or sweet, I might grab something a healthier option to munch on, or just have a little taster of something and get back to whatever it was I want to do. Bad habit number 2 is just hanging out with naysayers. They're just so emotionally draining. Like the Debbie Downer from Saturday Night Live. We're our own worst self-critics, right? Our greatest self-critics. I don't know, however you want to say it. But when there's somebody else that's ready to pounce and say, they just pounce on anything we say and just quickly tear it down, that can be a drag. So if you can adjust your who you're hanging out with to do that, not spend as much time with those people. Now, you might not be able to avoid everybody, but finding people who are more supportive, who will share. There's nothing wrong with constructive feedback. Don't get me wrong there. But you'll be much happier that way than knowing that you're going to say something or do something and instantly somebody's, shredding it apart. So anyway, third one is it's hanging out with toxic people. Being with people who don't appreciate you. That's another habit. If you can slide that in and actually break that habit, or shift who you're hanging out with, where people aren't so toxic. I used to hang out with a really great group of people, and then in my school years, and then each year the group that would hang out maybe in the lounge for having lunch kind of shifted from year to year, and as times got tough, the negativity kind of came in there, and I said, I really don't need this. I'm better off just eating my lunch on my own in my own room. So that's another thing. Maybe you don't have to go to that extreme, but kind of drawing that line. I still appreciate it. I still thought the most of those people and the careers and the things they taught. I just couldn't hang out with the toxicity of the negative chatter and the negative talk, no matter how much we try to spin it positively and make it upbeat, it is what it is. Next habit is smoking. Now, I used to be a smoker. I was a 2-pack a day smoker, and I really enjoyed smoking. But the health, all the health negativity that came with it, and all of the, I don't know, the lifestyle changes you needed to do to be a smoker, and the cost that it was for a smoker. Not, and then you compound the extra health factor and all the things that go along with it. It was just something that had to go. For me, it was a matter of breathing. I was going through one of the humongous Primatine mists a week. I was going through one of those just so I could keep my lungs open so I could smoke more. And oh boy, you can imagine that compounded the things. So glad I got rid of that. I used a patch to do that. It was not easy, but it was a habit that I took on, and one that you can do too. I mean, it can. I'm not going to tell you all the health benefits because I know you can do the research on that, and I'm not going to get on a soapbox about it, but that is a bad habit to get rid of. Eating junk food is another one. That includes diet soda. I heard there's some research on there with diet soda. I'm not going to dig into that too much because just some recent research that came out about the harmful effects of diet soda. But let's just face it, that stuff is so addicting. It's hard to break away from. And, you're driving by a place or you're walking by a place or you're thinking of the convenience because you really don't want to make healthy food at home. Yuck. And it's just so easy and convenient, and you just shovel it down and you don't even think about it. And no wonder that, obviously a big contributor to our obesity epidemic. But if you can eliminate that, give yourself much healthier choices. And there's a lot of ways. One of the things that I tried to do out there was, you know what? I want to figure out a healthier version to make this pizza. I want a healthier version to make a burger because I love burgers. I want a healthier version to make tacos because I love tacos. Just find healthy swaps for the things that you love. Yes, it may take a little bit of work, but for your waistline, your heart, your health, everything, totally worth it. Another one is watching too much TV or mindlessly surfing the web. Guilty. That's one I'm still working on, but if you can minimize that, especially the TV that's filled with drama news. I mean, watch every newscast. They thrive on so many negative things. We internalize that because our brain's feeding off it, going, oh, more negativity, give me some of that. And then notice how you makes you feel. It makes you feel anxious, and maybe you get angry, and maybe you get worried or concerned, and then there's all this extra pressure that you're putting on yourself. A lot of times we come home, we're overweight, we're overwhelmed, we crash on the couch. Just channel surfing is a great idea. And then we're reaching for the munchies mindlessly. So if you can restrict yourself to that, even mindlessly surfing the web, a lot of times for me, I'm looking for things that can be either teach me or where I can improve to get a better skill or learn a different mindset or a positive mindset. Those things I'm kind of searching for on the web intentionally for that, because there's a lot of stuff that just comes into the feed. So I'm very intentional the way I do those things. But it's a habit. I mean, I think you probably can relate to that or know somebody that does that. But maybe there's just some other activities that you can do, or limit the time with a timer or whatever. Or maybe there's a special show that you just lock into on the TV, but then you turn to something else, an uplifting book or an uplifting podcast or whatever it is. We a lot of times we'll pop over to YouTube and grab a documentary to watch. So while it may not sound the most interesting when you're empowering your life, that opens the doors for more possibilities. Being late being habitually late. It's rude to others, and kind of a mean thing. It puts you in this rush and panic, and puts you in apology mode. And if you can be more punctual, that's a great habit to have. Being late is the one to get rid of. And piggybacking on that is leaving things to the last minute, procrastination. I find that I'm getting better in that. I run in streaks when it comes to procrastination. It really depends on what it is. Burning the midnight oil, I think for some of you who maybe went to college or had high school tests coming up, that may have been a reality, but it's really damaging to the body, mentally draining, constantly in that hyper tense mode, that feeling of anxiousness, whether you can get it in on time. I get it. Some people really work well under pressure, but I think there is kind of an intense impact that can also happen to the body with that anxiety when that happens. So, rather than reacting to your deadlines, maybe you're proactive about them by planning ahead, identifying what needs to be done for the week, getting things done in advance. I know easier said than done. Takes practice, but that's when you're getting rid of a bad habit and putting in good habits. That's what practice does, staying ahead of that, and can help you overcome those things. Focusing on the negative, you may know those people. You may be that person. Every situation, there's always a couple ways to react. You can zoom in on the problems and how they aren't the way that you thought they would be, or you can celebrate the things that are going well and what went right and how can we make it better. I find myself catching that a lot of times. Something will come up and it'll be like, but there's a lot of, it's not always saying you got to be Little Miss Sunshine about it, but there are a couple different ways to look at things, and it does feel a little bit better to look at things on the bright side and know that if there's something that needs to be adjusted or fixed because there is a problem and it is a negative thing, you can flip it to make it a positive and be solution oriented, rather than just focusing on problems and dread and criticizing and just, it's not empowering at all. Another habit, comparing yourself to others. That when you have that sense of pleasure and satisfaction, and then you compare yourself to somebody else, then you no longer feel that it takes away that power from you. So the less you can do of that, the more empowering to yourself you can do that. Complaining is another bad habit to get rid of. That might even have gone to focusing on the negative, but it just makes us feel bad, and this the whiners and complainers, and nothing ever seems to go right, and oh my gosh, I think it can kind of harm us a little bit physically, mentally, make you more stressed out, and I don't know, just something to get rid of. Just griping, I think a lot of times comes naturally for many people. But ways that I think that you can not twist things, but I think here are some empowering things, some positive daily habits that you can do to consider. So while you're getting rid of, maybe replacing some of the bad habits and replacing them with a good habit. Developing a nighttime and a daytime routine around mindset. I recommend getting the book, The Miracle Morning. That one is so empowering, uplifting, with very simple, doable things that you can do at the end of each night and to start your day that can make all the difference. Okay, and some of these things that I'm going to tell you about are in that book, a little bit more elaborate, but very, very powerful. I recommend it. It's by an author by the name of Hal Elrod. Another daily positive habit is to exercise regularly. You knew I was going to say that, right? And then eating healthy food. You knew I was going to say that, right? Meditating. I am striving to be better at meditating. I'm getting consistent at it, little 10-minute sessions, but just that self-observation mindset, I think kind of ends up taking some of the stress away, especially when you bring in some breathing techniques. Developing a growth mindset. Like I said before, I'm usually looking for, either a good audiobook, good podcast, a good book to read, a documentary, something that's on a video. Maybe there's an online course or something to dig into, something that's going to empower, uplift you, either to think more positively, to become more, to do more, to learn some new skills, things like that. And the last one is journaling. Just, it can even be simple. I bought this thing called the 5-minute journal. Super easy. You're writing down a few things that you're grateful for, a few things of what would make today great, and a daily affirmation. And then you're reflecting on the day, what made today great, and what's one thing that could have been better that I can work on. So I think those are great things. Over time, I know this is a lot, but over time, if you just focus on like maybe one bad habit that you find that you can get rid of, and one positive habit that you can bring in, and you start implementing those, you start to see your life start to positively soar. Then add in other ones, or take with the bad habits, take away some of those. I know those were 11 bad habits. There's probably lots more, but I think there's also lots more positive habits that I could have mentioned. Those are ones. Just as I was researching, I was helping out a few clients, and thought, there's a lot to this. I want to share it. I'm going to do some research, so I thought I would come on and share with you. I so appreciate you for coming on. If you found this valuable, please pass it on to somebody you know could benefit. And if you can get over into your podcast app or wherever you listen to podcasts and give Power Blast Podcast an honest rating and review, that would absolutely rock. I do this in not only video, you might be watching a video right now, I'm waving at you, or in audio form. You can grab it that way if you want rather listen in the car, or when you're mowing the lawn, or like in Minneapolis here, you're out there shoveling. That would be great. And just please share it and pass it along. You absolutely rock, my friend. And as always, remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week.